So when I first heard about Fifth Street and potentially coming to a homeless shelter, there were all kinds of thoughts that were going through my mind. I'd heard horror stories about what a shelter's like, in different inner cities and places and connections that I had in the past through a previous career. So I was really terrified and frightened, didn't know what to expect. And it's definitely was struggling as a person to humble myself, to accept help in that time of need. But I really had no other place to go. So my alternative to coming to the homeless shelter would have been to be on the street, which I had never been on the street before. I had never not had my own place. I was always able to pay my bills. I was always able to take care of myself, own a home, take care of my family. And so it was the first time in my life that I was in crisis like that, and I was absolutely terrified. And as a man in my mid 40s who had been successful, it seemed like the end of the world. It felt like my whole world was crashing in on me, and I really had no other place to go. I could get a hotel for a while, but those resources would have run out, and eventually I would have been back on the street. And so when I came to Fifth Street and did my intake, they asked me a bunch of information, and then started telling me about the resources that are available to me. And so I had previously been in careers where I had helped other people, but I had never been in a place where I needed help myself. So it was definitely a struggle for me to come in and say, hey, I need help. But I'm really glad I did, because all that's happened since I've been here has absolutely changed my life. It literally was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to me, but in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. What has taken place for me personally, both in my family, my personal life, and my finances, and the resources that Fifth Street's helped me get, has absolutely changed my life. Through case management, working with them, helping me on a savings plan, getting me connected with counseling, the veteran program, and different resources that were available to me. I was able to get housing, start a career again, even though it's different than what I've done before. I'm able to work here. And previous to that, I was in bed struggling with depression for about 6 years, doing nothing, just sitting without employment. And so it kind of gave me a purpose back and really awakened me to the different needs that people have, that I'm no different than them. Even if I've been successful, anybody can find themselves in a crisis, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. Places like Fifth Street are there for you to be able to help you not only grow and change as an individual, but also help you with the practical things to help you get back on your feet and become a successful, contributing person in society again. And that's been multifaceted for me with mental health, with, the financial aid that's been available to me. And then also coming here, I literally found like another family, from the people I work with and the staff to the residents that I was with, have become friends. And it's just opened me up to a whole new world and given me a greater appreciation for, humanity in general and people that are going through stuff in life. So when I first came to Fifth Street, I didn't know what to expect, even in my interactions with the staff. And what I found right away was that the staff was encouraging, welcoming, and they didn't look at me as being someone that was less than or, going through something. They actually treated me like the most decent human being on the planet, and gave me opportunities, trusted me, gave me a job when everybody else in my life was either walking away or not there for me, or I had, through my own mistakes, broken those relationships. They gave me opportunity and showed me value and worth and dignity. And when you're in your lowest place like that, you don't expect that, because you don't see yourself as having any value because of all you're going through, whether it's the shame, the guilt, or the rejection of relationships, or, mistakes you've made that have caused you to kind of have a past. They didn't treat me like that. Everybody looked at me in the eye, were warm, talked to me, wanted to know my story, and actually cared about what I was going through. And I've found them to be extremely helpful, but also just ended up feeling like friends and family. So when I first arrived at Fifth Street, after I did my intake, I went into the night shelter. And the night shelter is the first phase of the program. And you basically have a place to stay overnight. You have to get up in the morning, do daily chores, and participate in the shelter life because it's a working shelter. And from there, I ended up getting a job here at Fifth Street and transitioned into the transition program. And during that time, you get assigned a case manager, and that case manager begins to work with you on a savings plan, budgeting. They also offer the different resources that are available at Fifth Street for you, counseling or other services that you need, peer support. And right away they started a plan with me to help me succeed. They gave me rides to appointments I had. They made phone calls for me to different resources that were available to me and started to work with me on housing. When I found some housing, my case manager called the apartment complex that I was going to be going to and started to work with them through the rapid rehousing program to help me get some assistance in the initial stages of my reentry into my life so that I was able to get back on my feet. They worked with me on relationship issues, legal issues, as well as, helping me see my kids, getting me back and forth to appointments for that, so that I could build my family back. And I got extremely grateful for the support that I've had. So when I first arrived at Fifth Street, the hardest moment for me was the next morning. When I woke up in the shelter and thought, is this going to be like this forever? Is this the rest of my life? And through the program here at Fifth Street, they started to help me kind of get a vision again for my life with different aspects of, basic little goals and plans, which may seem like everyday things for everybody, but when you're in your lowest place, even trying to figure out a budget, you don't even have a vision for that. And so the small little steps that they helped me with helped me to kind of track a vision again for my future, that it was possible for me to get my own place again, to reestablish a relationship with my family, and to be successful again as a person. And during that time, I found my stay here really helped me step by step start to believe that it was possible, because I was completely depressed, withdrawn. All the things I had done previously in my past didn't matter because I didn't believe that things could get better. And through my stay here and the help that I received, I started to see that it was possible. Because of that, I'm in my own apartment, have everything I need, have a job, have transportation. And now it started to make me rethink kind of some of the things I used to be passionate about, that I'd like to do them again in another way and give back to those who are also in need, and try to make a difference. Because what happened to me definitely is not unique to my situation. There's so many people going through it, and you just have to believe that it's possible, that you can change and people are there for you. And that's what I found at Fifth Street. So one of the greatest things that happened to me was, being the opportunity to work the front desk. And working the front desk, you kind of get a little bit of both worlds, because you have to work with the staff and management, and then you also are working with the residents like me who stayed there. And I started that position when I was still staying at the shelter. And what I found is that they didn't treat me like I was, not part-time, you're gonna have to edit that. They didn't treat me like I was less than. They treated me just like any other employee, and gave me value, started giving me more opportunities, showing me things that I didn't know. And with working with them, what I found was that I found their they definitely have a passion and a vision to really help those who are in need, whether it be, Michelle, the director, or case managers or peer support. They all work together in excellence to really see the vision of Fifth Street come to pass. And they take it very seriously. And the hard work they put in, the people are working hours, long hours, probably more than they're being paid for. But they care so much about what's going on. So since I've been at Fifth Street, I've seen all different walks of life come into the shelter. I've seen people that are struggling with substance abuse, who've been living on the street. Seen people come through and move through to my sister's house, domestic violence. Seen people come straight from prison. People come from jail. People come from divorces where they've had homes. Suddenly they find themselves needing to leave and no other place to go. People sleeping in cars. Have seen people that were well established in business and previous careers come through. Myself, who is a pastor, I've seen different walks of life, and homelessness as a crisis really doesn't discriminate. People can find themselves in all manner of different situations, and so I think a lot of people don't realize that their help and support to Fifth Street has such a broad reach, broader than just the typical idea of what homelessness is or displacement is. And I've seen people get clothing, food, jobs, and get reestablished and now on their own. And it's really multifaceted. I think my initial conception of what homelessness was in my life was, the person on the street corner, living in a box, or the drug addict who's staying out all night and just using and not spending, their money on their normal needs. That's definitely been shattered for me. Homelessness isn't necessarily something that fits any particular category or stereotype. Homelessness affects everyone. And what's really changed me being at Fifth Street is that when you think of homelessness, you think of those things. And often we don't think of like the person. And regardless of where the person's coming from, they're still a human being who has value, who has worth, and needs to be loved and cared for in their weakest moment. And that's what Fifth Street does, regardless of where you come from. So, when I was sitting in my home in a previous life, I was kind of shielded from the crisis of homelessness and need in my society. And it's really easy in life to sit there on your couch and forget about it and not see it. And then sit there and also wonder like, well, how can I help? Like, what can I do anyway? But there's so many things you can do, and you can give, your resources to it. You can volunteer. You can get involved as far as finding out in the program what's available to you to serve or serve lunch or dinner. Everything matters. And there's such a great need in our society to end this crisis. I think it just takes people getting involved, no matter how little it is to how large it is. Everything matters, whether it's $1 or $10,000, whether it's 2 hours volunteering your time, donating clothing that you might have left over in your home, finding out, different events that are going on and seeing how you can support them. It all matters, and it all impacts people like me who are in this program. Every little thing matters. Donating shoes, socks, hats, mittens, everything makes a difference. We spend so much money on things like Netflix and Hulu and coffee, and we go through our day totally shielded, especially because Fifth Street's in a neighborhood that's kind of out of the way where there's any influence, but there is a struggle and people are suffering. And you can make a difference and help alleviate that suffering no matter how little it is. So I'm grateful for everything that Fifth Street's done for me, and I'm grateful for all the donors and people that have volunteered their time, effort over the years. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's ever given their time, their treasure, their talent to this program because it's helped me personally get back on my feet, get reestablished with my children, and have a purpose again in life where I can give back. So I just want to say I appreciate it.